Let's turn to another aspect of the president's visit. He in Saudi Arabia, he really quite breathtakingly announced that the United States was removing sanctions against Syria, and that he would be meeting with the new transitional president of Syria, Ahmed al-Sharaa. What do you make of this sudden embrace? Really, it didn't seem to be just a kind of a testing phase. It seemed to be, okay, we're going to try this new relationship in a much more fulsome way between the United States and Syria, a country that has been sanctioned by the United States for decades. What is this? What is the significance of this change? And is there a possibility? Because we even heard some hints of a possibility that Syria could ultimately join the Abraham Accords as well.
Yeah, I think we were all surprised at the decision to meet Ahmed al-Sharaa, who I guess their various titles. I'm reluctant to call him president of Syria, but at least the head of the transitional government in Damascus. I will note that, of course, he had recently been in Paris and was received by President Macron, so it wasn't totally out of sync with some other major powers. And at the very end of the Biden administration, our Assistant Secretary of State for Near East, Ambassador Barbara Leaf, came to Damascus and met with al-Sharaa. But still, that's all quite different from the President of the United States doing it. I think this is, President Trump said this clearly. He did it in response to a request from Mohammed bin Salman and also from President Erdogan of Turkey, that they both thought that this was very important also to lift the sanctions on Syria, which, to be fair, were imposed on the previous Assad regime and not on this regime. But there are a lot of reasons to have some concerns about the new leadership in Syria and some of their very checkered past and their association with different jihadi terrorist groups at different times. And yet, since they've taken power, they've worked very, very hard to present a reasonable image to the world. And I guess that the president and his team were convinced by the arguments that this would help stabilize Syria and therefore further stabilize a very conflicted region. There may be also, I assume there's also some element of trying to prevent a return of the Iranian presence in Syria, which was a major element in the buildup of Hezbollah by the Iranian IRGC over the last 18, 19 years. And also the question about the role of Russia. And there's an element of U.S.-Turkish discussion, perhaps U.S.-Turkish-Israeli discussion on how to avoid conflict between Israel and Turkey in Syria. So these are all very important considerations. I'm sure they were all weighed carefully, and the decision was made to go ahead and have this meeting. It does appear that the president was impressed with Mr. al-Sharaa. I'm not sure if he made some rather fulsome comments about he's a handsome, tall man or something like that, but young and attractive. Yeah, it sounds very much like President Trump, who has a very personalized approach to international politics. But we'll see. I do think it's rather surprising, but this is an administration that doesn't seem to worry too much about breaking norms or past policies and is willing to take risks. Hopefully, this is a risk that will play out well.
Indeed. Obviously, we'll be keeping a very close eye on the situation. I want to stay in touch with you on what develops in Syria, particularly also to what degree this new transitional government protects minorities in that country. We've seen attacks on the Alawite minority, attacks on the Druze minority, which is a very significant population in Syria, but also in Israel and elsewhere. So it's something we're watching very closely, but we're hopeful.